You might have heard this before, but it's actually helped me in an instance I'll get into. If you aren't failing at 80% of the risks that you take, you aren't taking enough risks. That is Pareto principle, the idea that 80% of the outputs come from 20% of the inputs, and it is better to try 100 times and win 8 times than try 8 times and win 7. Now, what happened with me was I was doing DoorDash and I came up to this cafe and the girl who served me was really pretty. I was waiting for the food and I was like, I'm gonna ask her for her number. And I didn't. I went up to her and I was like, thank you. And then ran away. But for the next 30 minutes of driving around doing these deliveries, all I could think about was that I failed at that. And so I paused my dash and I just drove back to the restaurant, racing against the clock, thinking that she was going to finish and she would have left by the time that I got there. And the entire time that I was driving there, particularly when I got closer, I was repeating in my mind, despite the visceral reaction, I was so nervous. I was shaking, I was stressing. I know I sound like a pussy, but I was. I was repeating, if you aren't failing at 80% of the risks that you take, you are not taking enough risks. And even if I fail at this, I am one step closer to taking enough risks, even if I fail. And that actually allowed me to drive all the way back, park my car, get out, walk up to the window, look at her and say, hey, I think that you're really pretty. May I please get your number? And she gave it to me. I never would have done that. I never ever would have done that without the framework providing me overarching control over my thoughts and my reactions. Abstract concepts are inherently abstract. You can't quite pin what is immediately happening to you to the framework. But you can. You can. You can do that. If you repeat it enough, you don't, like a mantra, you don't let other thoughts in. And even if you do, you just acknowledge them and push them aside. You can use frameworks to actively override your immediate reaction. And the last one, which is if you have a fear that isn't quite reasonable, so you're in a plane and you're terrified of it crashing, or you're in the ocean and you're terrified of being bitten by a shark, okay, let's put you in the plane. You're in the plane, you're stressed that it's going to crash, you're losing it about this idea. Okay, what if you were to think that if the plane didn't crash, then you would die? It sounds silly and glib, but if you just give in, suspend your disbelief, and actually think, okay, if the plane doesn't crash, I'm going to die. You're going to realize that the chance of the plane actually crashing is incredibly slim, and you're going to be stressed about how slim the chances of the plane actually crashing are. The same for the shark. If you're in the ocean and you're terrified of being bitten by a shark, you're pacing around, you don't really want to go into the water, you don't want to go too deep. But then you tell yourself and suspend your disbelief and genuinely believe that if I do not get bitten by a shark in the next 2 minutes, I am going to die. And let yourself feel it. Let it actually filter throughout your body. You'll be stressed and panicking and terrified of how low the chances are of a shark actually biting you. You'll be thinking through, I don't know anybody who's been bitten by a shark. The last time there was a shark bite here was 5 years ago. Fuck, the chances are so low of me being bit. And what you're going to do is you're going to find it is the aggregate of the stress that you felt about not being bitten and the stress that you felt about being bitten that is how stressed you should really be. So